folks to be able to join. We did have roughly 70 folks, give or take, register for the webinar today, and I do see that we have about 40 online already, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for showing up on time. Quick housekeeping, also please, if you can keep yourself on mute, unless you do have a question, then do feel free to take yourself off mute during the Q&A portion, which is towards kind of the end of the webinar. And just once again, we're going to be going over online shopping, understanding some safety and precautions that you can really take while shopping online. And then also, in addition to that, if you have fraud, what to kind of look for, because fraud can take many different forms. And also too, just understanding as an individual what you can do to kind of combat fraud, both making sure that you don't have any in the first place, and then also if it does happen, what do you do? What is next? So again, we're going to be starting in just about a minute from now, just to allow some more folks to be able to join. And again, if you have to leave early from this session, don't worry so much about that. We will have this actually recorded and available for you at a later time so that you can go back and rewatch the webinar, especially if you had to leave early or you had some questions and you want to rewatch it again. And again, if you do have questions at any time during the webinar, please do type them into the Q&A, the chat portion of this webinar. And just keep in mind that if you select everyone will see your question. So if you want it to be anonymous, please do send it directly to me, Melinda Cardona, and I will read the question aloud, but keep it anonymous. So that way you can have your question answered in front of everybody, because most likely if you have that question, everyone else has that question as well. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So my name is Melinda Cardona, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We're going to be talking about online shopping, something that everyone is kind of going through right now. We'll also be going over some safety and precautions, just so that you can understand how you can thwart fraud before it actually can occur. And also what to do if fraud does come at you, just understanding what you can do as an individual to be able to recoup any fraudulent activity that's happened on your account. Today we have two separate amazing subject matter experts as well. I'm so excited to introduce both of these ladies. We'll have both Amy Heath and Elenia Aranas. Both of these ladies are actually on the call right now, and you can probably see them. If you can, ladies, give a wave. Hello. So just to give you guys a little information about us, we are your team who's going to be presenting to you today. Again, I'm Melinda Cardona. I'm the partnership manager. So if you ever have any questions about membership, anything in finance, really, you can reach out to me at any time. I don't work on commission. Actually, none of us do. And so you can reach out to us anytime and ask us any questions as they relate to finance. And just know that we will always have either an answer for you or be able to get you a resource to get you that answer. We are your friend in finance. Amy Heath is going to be one of our presenters today. She actually works in our call center as a fraud specialist, and she's got over 30 years of experience. And fun fact, she actually trained with Frank Abagnale. He's the guy from Catch Me If You Can, if you remember that movie. So that's kind of interesting. And then also we have Miss Elenia Aranas. She is our card fraud supervisor. So she's the gal that if you call in and you say, I have a question or a fraud on my debit card, my credit card, she's going to be one of those folks that's going to be helping you. And she also has a number of years working in financial institutions, and she's a soccer mom that loves travel. Don't we all? All right, so what we'll be going over today, just to give you the agenda, website safety, just understanding, is this website safe or not? Can it be fraudulent? Is this a spoofing type thing? Red flags, just understanding what maybe you should look for that can be a fake website or a real website. And just also knowing what are the common scams out there right now. I know that scam artists are constantly evolving and changing and trying to get better at their job, because their job is to steal your money. And so we want to help thwart that, we want to give you some information about the most recent and common scams out there. And then your account obligation. So as an individual, what is your obligation? What falls onto you, and what's your responsibility as far as like fraud? Now, fraud will touch most of us in our lifetime at one point or another. So just understanding how you can act and what you can do to get your money back and get all of your things back that are rightfully yours is going to be important. So we'll go over your account obligations as well as how to report fraud. And most of this will pertain to any financial institution. So even if you're not a member with a telco, we still care about you, we still care about your finances, and we want to make sure that you don't have to deal with fraud. And if you do, we want you to be able to recoup your losses very quickly. So leaning right into website safety. How do you know if a website is legitimate? It's a difficult question. Sorry, and if you see me pausing, it's because we have a lot of folks joining late. So sorry about that. So how do we know if a website is legitimate? So one of the best ways that you can tell if a website is legitimate or not is if it has that little chat box on the upper left-hand side when you're typing in the website address. The padlock seal actually represents the fact that it is a secured website. So you may actually notice it might have HTTPS leading up to the website name. That usually indicates that the website is a secure website. And having that trust seal, it can make a big difference as well. Also, another thing that you can do to make sure that a website is legitimate is you can check their contact page. A lot of these fraudulent websites and type fraud schemes don't have an 800 number that you can call. There's no live person that you can call. There's no email address. There's no contact form. And it's very difficult to get a hold of someone. That can usually be a red flag or an indicator that the website is a fake or a scam. And a lot of people don't take the time to actually research and make sure that that website is real or that company is real. But if you have a real company, you have a real way to get a hold of someone and be able to say, hey, I have a question, or I have a concern, or I have a return, or whatever it is. There should be a way to contact someone. And if there's no contact page or the information is difficult to find, it's kind of a red flag. Also checking whether the company has a social media presence is really important. Nowadays, we know everybody is online. Everybody's on social media. So it is important to kind of just double check, make sure that there is reviews for them. Are they listed on the Better Business Bureau site? Just do a little bit of back history on them, especially if, let's say this is a new company that you've never shopped with before. They're not reputable, you don't recognize the brand, it's something new. That's definitely something that you want to research before you go and you type in your credit card information on those websites. Also, again, to just know that when we get emails from all the different places that we shop on and we do business with, you're going to get a lot of emails. Don't click on the links within those emails. It's just not, it's not worth it. So that would be my best advice on that, is that let's say you get an email from PayPal and it's saying you need to update your password or you need to do something like that. Don't click on the links within the email. Actually go to the website itself, especially if you already know the website because you're a frequent patron of that website. Go to the website yourself, hand type it in, or go through Google and get the secured website. If you do need to change your password, go ahead and do it. But the reality is if you follow the links in the emails that you receive, you know, you're really taking a chance on clicking onto a fake website or a website that's going to be gathering details about you. And you don't want to do that. A lot of these fake websites and scam artists are not necessarily from the United States. So you'll notice that because English is not their first language, there will be grammatical mistakes, spelling errors. They're not going to have the same spell check that we would have here, right? So thinking about that, if you start seeing grammatical errors or spelling errors, that's generally not something that happens to American companies who have good marketing departments. So usually they'll catch all of that. Everything will be fixed before an email goes out, before a website gets published. I mean, there are mistakes that happen, but it's very rare. So just know that that can also be another red flag as well. And you can also use the Google Safe Browsing app. So when you go into Google and you want to do safe browsing, you can literally just click that link that's there that says safe browsing. That's also really helpful if maybe you're setting up a computer for someone who is not familiar with using online very much. I know when I set up my grandmother's computer, that's something that I did for her, was to show her that she can use a safe browsing link. That will kind of help from them clicking on something and maybe downloading a virus or a bug or malware. So just my helpful advice to you on that. So some red flags, again, if you see some small unrecognized charges on your debit or your credit card, this is super, super common, especially if it's something like an A2A transfer. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but if you set up a bank account and linked it to your PayPal, for example, the very first time you set that up, there will be little trial deposits that go into the account. That's fine if you authorize it. But let's say, for example, you log into your account and you see a 5-cent and a 20-cent charge from PayPal on your checking account, and you think, I've had my PayPal for years. I've never set this up. Why are they doing this? It might be someone else trying to link up to your account. So if you see small charges, always dispute them. If something is not yours, don't leave it there. Don't think, it's only a couple of dollars, it's only a couple of cents, I shouldn't dispute it, it's going to be more hassle than it's worth. No, it actually might help you from not getting fraud on your account down the line in a bigger amount, right? So we all know when we go fishing, we want the big fish, we don't want the little fish. So what do we do with the little fish? We throw them away. Okay, it's the same thing with fraud. You want to make sure that you thwart all fraud. It doesn't matter if it's small or it's big. If you see something, say something. Don't wait until your account has been really, really compromised and you've lost, hundreds or thousands of dollars. I always recommend taking a look at your account specifically for PayPal. And the reason why is because we do get a lot of emails asking, what was this PayPal item? I don't remember buying anything through PayPal. PayPal is accepted on a lot of different websites now as a way to pay when you're checking out. It doesn't necessarily tell us what you bought, what you paid for, or what website it came from, because it's just a payment method. So it may just say PayPal. And you may need to log into your PayPal and look through some of your purchases. And if that purchase isn't there in your PayPal that you own, that you set up, that's another red flag. Someone else may have set up a PayPal in your name, attached it to your account, and is out there buying stuff that they really want. And it may just be tests. It may just be $4 or $5, and you're thinking, oh, no big deal, I'm just going to let it pass by. The next purchase won't be that small, and you don't want to lose out on a large amount of money that maybe you could have prevented, right? Another thing that I always like to mention is unexpected Amazon gift cards. This happens quite often as well. You might get an email and it says, Alenia Arana sent you a $20 Amazon gift card, and the note says, thanks for being a good friend. Well, maybe me and Alania are friends on Facebook, and a scam artist was able to find out who I was friends with on Facebook and just entered in a random person's name. So am I going to click on that link to activate the card? Nope. I wasn't expecting a gift card from Alenia. So I'm going to pick up the phone or go on my Facebook and say, hey, did you send me an Amazon gift card? And I'm going to make sure that I know for sure that she sent me that Amazon gift card, because if she didn't, no way I'm clicking on that link, right? So just kind of giving you the heads up that not everything is as it seems, and it's really important that you kind of just do, checks and balances. Unrecognized logins for your online banking. When you log in, it should tell you the last time that you logged in. Usually the date and the time is there. That's a service that most financial institutions have for their online banking. If you notice that it said you last logged in yesterday, and you go, wait a minute, I haven't logged into my online banking for 2 weeks. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to balance my checking account. That's a red flag. Someone may have logged into your account. It may be time for you to update your username. It may be time for you to update your password. And we'll get into that in a little bit, because I know Miss Amy Keith who is also on this call, is going to have a thing or two to say about updating passwords and usernames for online banking. She's got a lot to give on that subject. Also, just notice that go into your account, check your profile, make sure that your email, your address, your phone number, especially your cell phone number, make sure that those are all up to date and that they haven't been changed recently to something that you don't recognize. A lot of times fraudsters who are taking over an entire account, they'll do it in stages. They'll come in, they'll change the email address, they'll change just the cell phone number because it sets off too many red flags. They change everything at once. So they'll just change one or two things at a time and slowly take over your entire account, making it difficult for you to log in, to thwart fraud, to prevent anything. So it's really important that you take accountability, and just every once in a while when you're logging in, you know what, I'm going to check on all my stuff. I'm just going to make sure it's still there, right? It's like if our kids go quiet, where are they? What are they doing? There might be a problem. So we're going to go count heads and make sure all our kids are there. It's the same type thing. With your finances, you just want to make sure that everything is still in order. And then again, also too, if you get any emails that are receipts for purchases you didn't make, I know this happens to me sometimes. Apparently there's another Melinda Cardona that lives in Southern California. She's a realtor, and every once in a while I get emails for her. And it's okay because I know that it's not necessarily me, but just know if you start getting email receipts, and maybe it's from, you know, like Banana Republic or, you know, something along those lines, and you go, I never shop there. I've never been there. This isn't me. There might be an issue. There might be someone who is trying to open a credit card at that department store in your name. Just know that you need to act on those things. So if you do see a receipt coming through to your email and it doesn't belong to you and the person's name is your actual name, that's a red flag. Immediately call that merchant, call that retailer and go, hey, I just got an email from a receipt for you guys. I never shopped there and I want to know how you got my email address. How did you get my email? And start from there. It may take you 5-10 minutes, but I promise you it's going to be worth it in the long run because you don't want any fraud on your account or, you know, on your social or just anything. You don't want any of it. All right, so next up is going to be Miss Amy Heath. She's going to talk about some recent scams that have been kind of coming through that we see often. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Miss Amy.
Thank you, Melinda. Good afternoon, everyone. So the first thing that I really want to stress, and it's the first thing I want to say, scammers, that's their full-time job, taking money from you. They are good at it. They are the SME for fraud. So they're going to build your trust, and they can be anybody that they want to be in this technological age. They can say they're anyone. So we've had a lot of recent Facebook takeovers, or maybe the Facebook account is duplicated of your family member or your friend or the Instagram, and it's a very similar address, but it's just got that slight difference that allowed them to go ahead and make that account. They will then reach out to you and start a conversation. They will get you to trust them. After all, this is Uncle Paul. You know, you've known Uncle Paul all your life, but you haven't seen Uncle Paul in years. And suddenly Uncle Paul has a need for money. And it's going to be a real sad story. And you're going to believe them. And so they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to be your Uncle Paul until they take all of your life savings. And then they're going to disappear. There are so many scams going on, especially now with COVID. You have to understand the scams and how they work. We've got loan scams, credit repair, job, romance, text scams, Facebook family, site and app sales sites. Also, there's scholarships, IRS, the immigration, charities, LinkedIn, COVID, EDD. They're going to get every bit of money they possibly can, and what they're going to do is leave you holding the ball. So I really recommend that in your time, whenever you have that time, Go to the Federal Trade Commission website, ftc.gov. There's pretty much a list of every scam you could think of. And they give you the warning sites and the red flags. You need to understand that if a charity, and this just happened yesterday with one of our members, if a charity reaches out to you and they really need you to buy gift cards for this charitable COVID event for these underprivileged children, and she went out and bought probably about $4,900 worth of gift cards, and then called us to get an increase on her POS limit so she could buy more. Once those gift cards are purchased and they get the numbers on the back of the cards, that money's gone. You'll never see that money again. It's gone. And because they got you to participate with it, if your account goes negative, or if you spend your whole life savings expecting to get some kind of return on that money, you're not going to get it. It's gone. So very, very quickly, the typical ways that they love to get the money from you is gift cards. They will also convince you with your trust in them to compromise your mobile credentials for a direct deposit, and then they'll have you Cash App or MoneyGram or gift card the money out. So they will often pose as reputable businesses, so that when you're checking it, Melinda Cardona at Chase Bank, you know, you're like, well, it's Chase Bank. But Melinda Cardona doesn't work for Chase Bank. We actually, in the past, had a member of our staff who's LinkedIn, because she clicked a link, as Melinda was saying, she clicked a link. Her LinkedIn was taken over and then used for unscrupulous activity. And it's very difficult to get back into that account and have that person taken out. And by the time she did, the damage was done. The person posed as her from Patelco Credit Union and got them to send money to her for interviews, or she sent out false checks, counterfeit checks, and then they had to send the part of that money to a vendor to buy online software that they would need to work at Patelco Credit Union. And it's devastating for people. I've seen people, as Melinda said, I've worked 30 years in fraud. I've seen people lose their whole life savings to these scams. And these aren't, you know, naive people. I've seen really intelligent and very educated lawyers, doctors, teachers. Anyone can fall victim to the scam if you don't recognize the signs and educate yourself on fraud. And while Patelco will definitely do everything we possibly can to get your money back, sometimes it's out of our hands. There's nothing we can do. So you can't rely on anybody but yourself.
That's a great point, Amy. And I know recently one of my colleagues in the call center where you're at actually told me a story. It was heartbreaking. A gal met and fell in love online with a guy who was supposedly very rich and was a financial advisor, and he did this and that. And over the period of, I think it was here 12 or 18 months, he eventually just kind of convinced her that he was going to take care of her and move her out to wherever this guy lived. And she ended up wiring money because he was supposedly a financial advisor with Charles Schwab, and he was so amazing and this and that, and he was going to invest the money for her. Well, he invested it all right. It's gone. And I think it was somewhere around the woods of $50,000 in a wire that she sent, and it's gone. there's nothing that she can really do other than file police reports and
yeah,
like
when we had a member, I'm still in touch with her to this day, $140,000 she sent this man that she fell in love with, that, you know, over a course. And that's not just with Patelco, that was with her B of A, that was with her Wells Fargo. And now at the age of 72, she's still having to work as a teacher because she can't afford to retire. He took it all from her. It devastated her.
Yeah, I bet. Well, thank you, Amy, for that. I'm going to just give a couple more examples just for you guys to understand, you know, some different spoofing and phishing scams. Again, check the website URL. Don't follow the link from an email. And see here, in this example, and I'm sorry if this is a little pixelated. I didn't realize that once you blow it up on the screen, it doesn't look as good. But this is an example of a fake PayPal website. And the crazy thing about this is that they even use a lot of the PayPal imagery and really kind of try to make it look as real as possible. However, if you do notice, this is an outdated, it's an outdated logo, outdated image. They've since updated their logo and their marketing since then. And there's no security symbol on the website URL. So, you know, just as a heads up, things can look very real, but just don't click on the links inside emails. That in and of itself is just a good idea. And if there's attachments and you don't recognize who sent you this email, you know, hover over the attachment. Make sure that you know what you're opening before you're opening it. It's always a good idea to not open attachments if you can, just because you don't know exactly what you're opening. You don't know if it's malware. You know, it can be a little tricky. So we're going to get into account obligations here and just understanding some of the different things that, you know, really falls on you as an account owner. And again, this doesn't matter if you're with Patelco, if you're with B of A, if you're with another credit union, it kind of all falls the same across the board, which is that you do have an obligation as an individual to review your account and review it often. Definitely inquire about any fees that you see. Sometimes fraud it's pretty amazing nowadays. They can type in their vendor name as, you know, B of A bank fee and push that fee out to B of A members, for example, or I guess they don't call them members, they call them customers. You know, and so just understanding the fact that fraud can come in all shapes and sizes, and you could be sitting there blaming your bank for feeing you, and really it's actually a fraudulent transaction that has come through on your account. And so you're fighting with B of A and they're letting you know, hey, this actually wasn't us. That statement fee that you see there is not actually a statement fee. It's a vendor who named themselves B of A statement fee. So take a look through all your transactions. Make sure that you ask about any fees that you see that are especially that are new or different. Just reviewing and researching those vendors and just understanding, you know, who are these people that are charging me? Because there is a lot of times, and I know Amy, you probably, and Alenia, you guys both probably know about this. There are times when people have, you know, the little Square or they have a Clover app and they're charging you for stuff. And they're just hoping that you won't dispute it because maybe you've been doing so many online purchases that you've lost track of who some of these people are, because who's going to dispute a $7.99 fee or a $7.99 charge from nailcare.com or something like that, right? And Amy and Alenia, do you guys see that pretty often? Do you guys see just some random charges coming through and the vendors don't seem legitimate?
Yeah, we've seen it at the MCC quite often. I've trained the reps to really kind of recognize things like that. Sometimes they're tests so that then they can pull out larger amounts later. They want to see if they can get away with it a couple of times before the card closes. That's why it's so important, even if you're using it as a savings account and you don't want to spend money and you're like, I don't want access to it, use your willpower get online banking and review your statements. That's
Yeah.
so important.
And I think, Alenia, maybe you can help me out on this one as well, but I know that sometimes when I'm in my account and I'm looking over my transactions, there's a little I bubble that, I think stands for information. I'm not really sure. And you can get more information by clicking on that, right? Or asking the question to like call center or something like that, right?
That's correct, like Melinda. So as long as if you see that like I just like click on it, you're gonna get like more information. Information can be like, the date, because like sometimes we're thinking like, hey, I did it like last Friday, but for whatever reason, it's showing like a Monday, like as a posting transaction, because like there's that authorization like time frame for the transaction to post. So, but again, if you're not sure, just like pick up the phone, call your financial institution and just inquire, because again, like especially nowadays, the merchant, you might be thinking to going to, online and purchasing a Target, but it depends. It can be like a third party like vendor, and it actually hits like a target.1.com, just like random, like merchant. So it's easy to just like pick up the phone, like call your financial institution and inquire about the transaction. That's a first line of defense. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. The other thing too that I want to make sure that I point out is that if you have a joint account holder, maybe your husband, your wife, your kids, a roommate, I don't know, is on your account and they have access to your account, even if they don't have a debit card, but maybe they just have access to your account, it's important to ask them as well. Hey, did you make this purchase with, Chewy.com or Safeway.com? Just ask them, because you never know if that purchase came through from something that they did as well. And that might save you some time as well. And a lot of times, to Alenia's point, if you're calling in and you're saying, hey, I don't recognize this charge, you can also ask, whose card did this come out of? Did this come out of my card, or did this come out of my husband's card? Just to get some more insight and some information. It's always available, and we're always there, to help you. So definitely do know that you can ask more questions. And I do have a question that came in through the chat here, so I want to make sure that I take a look at it. I'm not able to see it. So, okay, well, moving right along.
Well, I'm sorry, Melinda. There's something from Erica Watkins to everyone.
Okay. Yeah.
She says that she's extremely leery of online banking because of the Equifax being hacked. She wanted us to kind of speak about that. So I get that. Anything online is kind of scary. But to be honest with you, it can be a blessing as well. And I highly recommend online banking because you can set up alerts on all platforms. It doesn't matter what financial institution on your online banking, for logins, for transactions, for deposits. And it's the best way that you can really monitor to make sure that the activity on your account is yours. Do breaches happen? Yes, they do. And I mean, that's because, of those particular websites didn't upgrade the way they should have. And so then they got breached. But
and Amy,
yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Sean Sanner. For those of you on the call, I'm also the Vice President of Fraud Prevention here at Patelco, so it's a great opportunity to speak to you all. I would just like to address Erica's concerns from a security standpoint, and that is just having very good username and password protocols. And so if you do, ideally, you have a complicated password. In other words, a combination of capital letters, small letters, and symbols and or numbers included in your password. And then it is also very good hygiene to change those passwords periodically, maybe every 3 or 6 months. And then it's also very good hygiene to not use the same password across multiple sites. And so, for instance, there was 100 million usernames and passwords compromised at Yahoo in October or September or October of 2018. And so if you use the same username and password that you do for your Yahoo email for your financial institutions, then your financial institution can get compromised through a complicated malware attack called credential stuffing. Where they literally load hundreds of thousands of usernames and passwords and attack a particular financial site. And so those are just some ideas for you. Changing your password, using unique passwords, and using complicated passwords. I think those three things will give you a lot of security from online for online banking. Thank you, Amy. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's true, Sean, and maybe I was going too long, but that was what I was going to say. I change my password every 60 days, sometimes even sooner, and I don't use the same passwords for anything. I know that's complicated, but I haven't had issue with any kind of online account takeover.
And thank you. And I do have a couple more questions that have come through the chat, so I want to make sure that we answer them because this is actually perfect timing. So one question that we've received is regarding saving your username and password on your laptop or your device. So
Don't do it.
Oftentimes, yeah, and I know oftentimes it will ask you, do you want to save it?
No.
Yeah, and so we're all used to single sign-on at work, right? And that's one thing. But for our personal banking and passwords, I know Amy said don't do it. Sean and Elenia, do you guys have any advice or thoughts on this?
Yeah, so a lot of systems do allow for changing or saving your username and password. And I think that is common practice. So from a security standpoint, as long as you're changing your passwords on a periodic basis, you should be fine. The risk there, of course, is if you accidentally download some malware. So if you receive a phishing email with an attachment and you click on that attachment and that attachment downloads malware onto your computer, that will have, there's malware out there that will basically record your keystrokes. And if that occurs, then they would be able to detect when you're entering in your password. And so even in that instance, because you've auto-saved it, there's no keystrokes for that malware to detect. So in some cases, it's actually even more secure. But the best really is to have a complicated password and to change it, periodically.
And then
Also,
so another question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Also, text schemes, when a pop-up comes up on your computer and it says, you have a virus, call this number and we'll assist you for free. They will then remote access into your account. So if you do have it saved and you're allowing them to remote access, which I always say don't allow, just don't allow it. They will then have access and they can go behind the scenes of what you're looking at on the screen, and they can look at all of your financials.
Yeah. And then, and some of the other questions that came in also as well is why is it that Equifax, TransUnion, et cetera, the credit reporting agencies, why are they entitled to our personal information? And I would say, I don't know that they're necessarily entitled to it. I'm not sure what the legalities are behind that. I do know that because they are a credit reporting agency, that the reality is that they are going to follow every single thing that you do that has to do with your lending or your social security number as it relates to your credit report. So anytime someone runs your credit, That's going to show up on there. And so a lot of your most sensitive information that you may or may not want going out to everyone, is going to be held by them. And so their level of security is probably among some of the most important and highest level security out there. But everybody knows that there was that huge breach. Experian did, I think it was Experian. It was Experian, not Equifax, right?
No, it was Equifax, not Experian.
Okay, got it backwards. So Equifax did get the breach, and so I don't know exactly what happened to that information, if anything. I know that I haven't received anything as a result of that breach, knock on wood. However, the information was stolen and it was taken by hackers. And so I know at the time they were offering for anyone whose information was breached, free credit freezes on their account, on their social security number. There was some caveats to that, so it's important that you also understand that as well. A lot of times they will offer the freeze. However, if you want to unfreeze your account, either permanently or for like 24, 48 hours, there's usually a fee involved in that. So you're paying $20 to $40 to get the freeze taken off for a certain period of time. So it's important to know that it is a good service to have, but that you may have to pay to have it paused or removed temporarily. And you would need that anytime you're applying for anything. So it can help thwart fraud from being opened in your name, but at the same time, it can also kind of be a little bit of a hindrance for you opening up new accounts. So just know that right out the gate. And I'm not sure, Amy or Elenia, do you guys have anything that you want to add on top of that?
Well, I would say, I mean, as I said before, you should be absolutely the one protecting your identity, and you should be the one that is first and foremost doing that. Of course, Equifax did offer the services, and right now, until the end of 2021, all three major credit bureaus are offering free weekly credit reports. I sincerely suggest that you take part in that by going to annualcreditreport.com and trying to get your credit reports. They did that because of COVID and because of the rise in fraud and the breaches. So until 2021, April 2021, you can get a free weekly credit report from all three of the major credit reporting agencies.
That's a great add-in. A couple more questions that kind of came in through the Q&A, through the chat bar. Facial recognition, is it safe? Thoughts on this?
Yes. So, facial recognition is obviously new technology. It's very complex. Eye readers, thumbprints, any sort of bio authentication is very advanced. At the end of the day, though, it just translates to code, so a bunch of zeros and ones. And if that code is intercepted, then of course it can be used to facilitate access. The other maybe kind of downside to biotechnology is that we never want to be in a position where our members are basically putting themselves in physical harm, right? So we would never want that to be a sole, way to authenticate a member. And for instance, maybe a member gets their thumb taken from them, right, in order to access, their account or the ATM machine or something like that. So I think from a security standpoint, we're very cautious to adapt or adopt biotechnology, but it is part of kind of more of a layered approach, and it is getting more advanced all the time. And so from a security standpoint, it is pretty valid.
Awesome. Thank you. And then just to kind of piggyback in on that, so one of the questions that came in said, I get a little uncomfortable when fields self-populate when I'm completing online applications and the like. Should I be? So I have a little story to tell you. I did this recently, about maybe 6 months ago. I was purchasing something online. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I purchased something online. And for some reason, and I still have no idea why, it auto-populated the field, but instead of putting my name, it put my sister-in-law's name. And so imagine my reaction when I get a package to my house in my sister-in-law's name. Luckily, we're very close and we're friends, so I could reach out to her and say, hey, did you order this? Because I ordered this and I'm not really quite sure. But then I went back and I checked everything, and for some reason, auto-populate put in her name. Now, I'm lucky that it didn't put in her address as well. Otherwise, she probably would have thought I was sending her a gift. But my mistake was not checking to see what it auto-populated with. So I think auto-populate can be very helpful, but in my circumstance, it could also be extremely unhelpful and dangerous because you don't want to necessarily send other people your stuff or put in the wrong information. Amy, Elenia, or Sean, do you guys have any input on that?
I would just say, it's just another data source, right? And so all financial institutions and merchants and, every sort of business at some point has the opportunity to come under, some sort of attack. And data exfiltration is really the purpose, right? And so if your financial information is located and stored at different merchants, then obviously if they are attacked and there's data exfiltration, then your information can be compromised. But I wouldn't put that at a higher degree of risk from every time you swipe your debit or credit card. The same information is taken, it is used, it is stored at that merchant. And if that merchant gets compromised, then your card can be compromised as well. And so we just have to be, aware of how our information is being used and where it's being stored. And then, really follow Amy's advice of being vigilant and monitoring your accounts, just understanding the transactions that are coming in. And if anything is unauthorized, Patelco in particular is very good at processing your provisional credit and getting that money back to you. And giving you a new card and restoring, your security on your account.
Yeah, I would say in today's techie world, like I said earlier, it can be a blessing or a curse. So the ease of access that we have today in purchasing things in the comfort of our home during COVID, without having to go out and shop and autofill and all of that. You just have to be vigilant and make sure that you are protecting yourself the best you can, and understand that it does happen. Not to everybody. I mean, you can be that lucky one person, but it's going to happen. I've been a victim twice of identity theft.
No, and just to piggyback to what Sean and Erin said, everyone understand that we do not have any control of our information stored on a card or even just our account. And there can be some breaches, right? Security breaches. But again, that word, Amy, Sean mentioned it, the word is being vigilant. We just need to make sure and be aware of the scams and just think of the tricks. I think Amy, Melinda, Sean provided or gave us some tricks in order for the fraudsters, tricks that the fraudsters play. And we need to, we can stay ahead of what they're doing, just being vigilant and knowing what are those. So that way we can beat them in their own game.
Yeah. And then quite a few more questions came through. So I want to make sure I give everyone the chance to have their questions answered. So one question came through and just asked, what does auto-populate mean? So auto-populate just means that, like, let's say, for example, you're on a website and it's telling you, where do we ship to, or what's your billing address? And you go to click in the box to type in your name, and a little thing pops down and goes, would you like us to pre-fill this out for you? We already have all your information. So you can click yes on it and click your name, and it'll auto-populate all the fields, and that's fine if you choose to use that. Just realize that it doesn't excuse you from having to look at every single field and make sure that it was all typed in properly. Because, like, for example, my example of everything getting sent to, you know, with my sister-in-law's name on it, if I had just not been lazy and actually read all the fields that was typed in for me, I would have realized that, caught that, and changed it. But I didn't. I was either rushing or wasn't thinking or something, and I just moved on to the next one. And so luckily the package still came to my house, but can you imagine if it didn't, if it had gone somewhere else, or maybe if one of my computer gotten hacked and all of a sudden, you know, I'm sending Erica Watkins all the stuff that I went to go buy online. I'm sure she would love to receive all that stuff, but she might also be like, what is going on with Melinda and why isn't she checking her account, you know? So just know that auto-populate may or may not be for you, but it's still definitely something that you want to just, you know, keep a close eye on.
I always like following Santa Claus's advice. When you make your list, check it twice before you submit it.
Yeah. And then another question came in. So Luz Calvo, if you're still on the call, if you'd like, you can definitely take yourself off mute. I know you said you had a complicated question that you wanted to ask.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I really appreciate this informative session, and I've been banking at Patelco since 2005. And I never realized that there were people there that I could call when I had questions like this. So this, that itself is really helpful. But I had in the last couple of weeks a weird situation where I started receiving emails from Walmart saying that my item had shipped and I hadn't ordered anything from Walmart. And so when I went to my Walmart account, I could see that somebody had ordered about 5 or 6 different things, each at $200, and that they were being shipped to different people all over the country. So of course I went right away and I changed my password at Walmart, and I also took my credit cards. It looked like there had been 3 credit cards associated with my account on my Walmart account, so I took those off. But I didn't want to close down my Walmart account because I wanted to have a record of what had occurred. I called Walmart. They said they'd get back to me in 48 hours, which they didn't. I also went to the 3 credit reporting agencies to see, because once I looked closer, I could see that they were being charged on a credit card that was not mine. So even though it had my name attached to it and my billing address attached to it, I went to the 3 credit reporting agencies. None of them showed that anybody had opened a new credit card in my name, and I only have 3 credit cards, and those were not, none of them were the ones that was being charged. So then I'm just left with, and so of course I put like a fraud alert on my accounts, and nobody can take out a credit card in my name. I did all of that with the credit card reporting agencies, but I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know who to turn to.
So one thing that I would say, I know I had this happen to a friend of mine. Basically what they did was they used your Walmart account that they were able to get into as a mule. More than likely the credit card that was used was stolen information. So a bad guy doesn't want to use their own Walmart account to order stuff and, you know, go ahead and ship it out to someplace. They're going to use what's known as a mule account. And so that's what your Walmart account was being used as. So it wasn't your credit that was being used, but somebody else who's probably a victim. It was probably their credit card. And that way what happens is when they file the reports, everything's going to go to your account, but then you've already taken care of making sure that you did what you needed to do. So then it's a matter of them trying, if the police actually review this or take it on as investigation, then they have to go to the the addresses they were shipped to, which honestly, either they were empty houses probably, or again, more victims who maybe work all day and are away from home. And so it's easy to steal packages off of their porch.
Yeah, I would just add, Ms. Calvo, you did everything that you're supposed to do. So I just really want to commend you because you took all of the right steps. You changed your username and password on your Walmart account. You checked your credit bureaus to see if there was any new credit lines that were unauthorized, and you're able to validate that did not occur. And then you also filed a fraud claim with Walmart. And so that they'll understand that those are in fact fraudulent charges, and ideally they're removing the fraudulent card that was used to process those transactions from your account and identifying those as fraud transactions so that they will not continue to occur. So I think from what I understand of your situation, I think you've done all of the right things. And you should feel pretty secure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great job, Luz. All right, and then I have one other person who has been very patiently raising their hand asking to be able to speak. So Ms. Sherry T., if you would like, please take yourself off mute and feel free to ask any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Melinda. Thank you for all this presentation. You guys mentioned about asking for a credit report on a weekly basis, but doesn't this going to compromise our account because every time they ask for Social Security, or how does that happen? One question, and also that there's a lot of refinancing happening at this time, and the refinancing company, they definitely want your Social Security number and so many personal information. How would I trust any of them? I mean, I got weekly newsletter from them or request for refinancing, but I wouldn't dare to try any of them. They want all this information before they can give you any quote on your refinancing rate and everything. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Sherry. As for the weekly free credit report, it doesn't do anything to your credit to pull it. That was why they're offering it for free due to all the fraud that's currently going on. So it doesn't impact you in any way. Yes, you'd have to go to the website and put in your information, which if you're not comfortable with doing that, don't do it. I'm not going to force you, but it is a service that is offered, and they are secured site, and it comes directly from each of the credit bureaus. As for your question on refinancing, the only thing that I can suggest is that if you're looking into refinancing, I would look with the institutions that you do trust and that you do know before anything. If it's for an automobile, I know the Cuddle site, CUDL, that is secure, and it just goes to all the credit unions. But if you don't trust the company that's sending out the information to you, then I wouldn't do it. I always make sure that, Google is my best friend. I use it daily, and honestly, it is the best impact that you would have to fighting fraud. Google, you can put in for Yelp, you can get reviews, you can Google the organization's name and then put the word scam after it and see what comes up. You can put the organization's name and then put in reviews and see what comes up. I try it in very many different formats for my own personal life, but even as a fraud investigator, I use Google quite often.
Yeah, I would just, Amy, great advice. And I would just add to it, and I think, Amy, you were essentially saying this as well, which is there's a difference between responding to a solicitation and going out and going to your own trusted sources, right? And so that's really kind of the difference there. If you are going to be providing very personal information, I think it's best that you are the one that is reaching out. You're coming to Patelco. You're engaging us. And then we are then, getting that information for you so that we could, process your refinance loan or what other financial services you're asking for. And it would be the same for the credit bureaus as well. You're engaging them. You're not responding to a solicitation. You're going out, you're finding out who you need to contact, and then you're engaging them. And that's going to dramatically decrease your risk.
Thank you.
One of the best pieces of fraud advice I ever got was from my own father. And he didn't know anything to do with fraud. He worked at the post office all his life. And that is, if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Thank you.
I completely agree with that. So moving right along, I want to definitely give Amy and Alenia a chance to talk about the type of fraud that they kind of deal with every day, and also understanding just kind of how to report and fix that fraud. So overall, right, there's like an umbrella of fraud, right? So you've got account takeover, social security breaches, ACH, which is the automatic clearinghouse. Those are like kind of electronic debits that may come into or out of your account. You've got a debit card fraud, you've got credit card fraud, and you have online fraud. So there's a lot of different types of fraud out there, and how you manage, report, and start getting your life back and getting your money back can be different for each one of these types of fraud. So if you have an account takeover, meaning someone has posed as you online and is doing fraudulent activity underneath your name, or they have your social security number because they're opening up new accounts online, there are several different steps that you're going to have to take that will be different from other types of fraud that you face. The best case scenario, if nothing else, review your account every 2 weeks. Bare minimum. I mean, really, it should be more often than that. And you can set up alerts. And I know Amy is going to go into that a little bit as well. But the minute you see something, you need to say something. And you need to look at your account at least every 2 weeks. I mean, for me, it's honestly, I set up alerts on my account, and I'll get a text anytime I make certain purchases over a certain amount. But even then, I'll still log in usually every Friday and just review all the charges, because I'm not a cash person and I don't write checks. So guess where my money comes out? On my card. That's all I do, is swipe it and go online and charge stuff, because I'm not leaving the house that much anymore, and cash is kind of dirty and checks are antiquated. So that's my purchase habit. So I know that, and knowing that, I need to make sure that I am responsible for my own account, and I'm looking at my account, looking at my purchases and things like that, and my transactions, and making sure everything's on the up and up, because fraud can happen to any of us. Even myself, Amy, Alenia, Sean, we're all privy to it. So just know that if you do have fraud, you're not alone. You're not the only person that this has ever happened to. And that, you have a whole team of people who are literally, this is their bread and butter. This is all they do all day, is help you with fraud. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Amy and then Alenia, so that they can kind of talk a little bit about, ACH fraud and online fraud, and kind of what that might look like, and what you may have to do to collect your account.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to tell you, being that I work at a member contact center and we take calls all day, every day, that is, if you get a call from someone and you don't believe that they're calling from the actual place they state they're calling from, hang up. You're not going to upset them. You can say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disconnect the call and call my financial institution myself to check on this. It's okay. I don't take offense. I've had people who have fraud, and I've reached out to them about a fraudulent situation, tell me, I don't believe you are who you say you are. I don't take offense to it. I actually commend them. They want an extension so they can go ahead and call back Patelco and use my extension. I'll give it every single time. So if the person gets upset or says, well, you're not going to be able to get a hold of me because I'm working remotely, they're not who they say they are. You can, if you don't know the company's number that they're supposedly calling from, Google. Again, just Google the company and find out an 800 number or how to get in contact with them. You have to remember with technology, blessing and curse, that the number that is calling you on your phone and is showing could be a spoofed number from an app. Maybe it's not Patelco. Maybe they're calling you and saying, hi, this is Amy calling from Patelco. And to go ahead and authenticate you today, I do need the last 4 numbers of your debit card and your PIN number. That should be your secret number that you use that we have. We do not have your PIN number. We do not have your CVV number from the back of your card. That's not on file. That's only yours. We don't look at it and register it. So that's only your information. Always be wary of giving out any kind of personal information, even your account information. Now, if Caltrans gives you a form and says, here, you know, for your direct deposit, fill this out, by all means, you trust them. But if somebody else is saying, okay, well, you know, to go ahead and apply for this loan, we just need your ACH and account number to verify your account, and you don't feel comfortable, don't give it. Go somewhere else. There's plenty of places that would give you a loan that are reputable, that wouldn't ask you for information that you feel uncomfortable in getting. Set a verbal passphrase or password on your account for when you call into a member contact center. I can't stress that enough. We do have the OTP, which is a one-time passcode now that we will send you either through email or text. We can also call a phone number and then it'll tell you the number, but you can set a verbal passphrase on your account so that it just gives that extra security. And make it something that's not easily accessible in this day and age with social media. If you're posting, you know, a picture of you and your spouse in Hawaii saying, oh, our favorite vacation spot, Hawaii password is not a good password. It needs to be something that nobody else would know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And then when it comes to like debit and credit card fraud, Ms. Elenia, do you want to speak a little bit about that? I know that's kind of your thing.
Of course. Thanks, Melinda. So I guess like who doesn't use card nowadays, right? Like I think at least like for me, that's all I have in my wallet. If you're going to ask me for like some cash, I'll be like, hold on, let me go to the ATM or let me get cash back. Cause like I don't have like cash with me. But unfortunately, like with cards, there's like fraud. And we have like 2 types of fraud, and that's like debit and credit cards. So for debit, you might be like you might hear like, oh, it's a PIN transaction. It's a signature transaction. When does like PIN happen? Or what is considered PIN? So that's actually like when you use like your debit card and you go to the ATM machine, like you enter your card, like 4-digit like PIN number, then that's like a PIN transaction. A signature transaction, we also call it like a point of sale transaction. You go into your, you know, like restaurants or like Target, like to do your grocery shopping. You enter your card or like insert your card, then that's a point of sale transaction. So when you have like fraud on your account, what can you do? If you notice like something like that you know like you didn't do, or even like you're not sure, right? Of course, like call us. And if we identify that that transaction is fraud, what we can do, of course, we can file a dispute. So you can file a dispute through your financial institution like Patelco. Some documentation might be required. Like those documentation can be like a police report, like a copy of like your sales receipt, or maybe additional information that will help us do our investigation like faster and find out like who committed that fraud. The provisional credit, typically like it can take like 24, 48 like hours. There's gonna be like some instances where you can actually get credit like instantly the same day that you file like your claim. For credit, the same thing as a debit. They're also like PIN transaction. When does it happen? I have a credit card, because you might be thinking, I can't use my credit card like on an ATM. Yes, you can. And that's what we consider like a cashback. You can even go to your inside your bank or like financial institution and then just say like, I have my credit card, I want to take like cash out. That's like a PIN, because again, like you're still like entering that like 4-digit number. and also like a signature, like point of sale transaction, what I mentioned, like for debit card, restaurants, like, like grocery stores, or even like online purchases. That's a signature or point of sale transaction. You can also like file like your dispute with Patelco or like financial institution. Just be aware though, like for credit card, it's different than the debit. Authorization, what it means is sometimes you give your card, you purchase like something, they will hold like a certain like amount, like which is like pre-authorized. And it can take like 3 to 5 days before that transaction closes. So if you see that and you're not sure what is just like $100, like of course, like you can give us a call, like we can give you like information. But I just want to like mention, because again, like a lot of like members thinks that, oh, I have like $100, this is fraud. And next thing you know, it posted for like a $25. And that's like a gas that you did like 2-3 days like after, right? So I just want to make sure that we're all aware that sometimes authorization doesn't exactly like pose as what we think it is, because like they have that certain dollar amount that the merchant hold. And provisional credit, if you do happen to file like a claim and it's fraud, the same thing as a debit, 24 to 48 hours, but there's also some situation we can issue you a credit the same day.
Thank you, Elenia. I do have a couple of questions that came through. So the first one is, if, for example, I go to a restaurant and I leave a $1 tip and they fraudulently change it to a $10 tip, what do I do?
File a claim. Call us and file a claim. Because like that, you can dispute, basically like giving them like $1, that's the only amount that you authorize for the merchant to charge you. Anything like after that, you need to file and we can like dispute it.
Okay, all right. So just to be clear on that same subject then, Elenia, like for example, you authorized $1, you didn't authorize 10. So does that mean that Patelco or whoever you're banking with, does that mean that they will go back and then adjust it so that, adjust it by $9, for example, or does it negate the entire amount total? Like you're getting rid of the whole thing or just part of the thing? Like how does that work?
We're going to issue you whatever the difference. So in that case, like if you only like authorize like $1 and they charge you like $10, we're going to give you the $9 as a temporary credit while we're doing the investigation. There's going to be like some situation where that temporary credit will be permanent because of the result of the investigation that we've made.
Okay, that's awesome. And how long does the investigation usually take? If it's a small charge, not like $500-600 or anything, but smaller.
Like typically, like we're gonna have like an answer between like within like 30 days. Depends on like the amount and the kind of like fraud. We might have an answer within like 30 days.
Okay, perfect. Also, is there a time limit? Let's say I'm going through my account and I'm negligent. I don't check my account very often. And I go through and I see 2 months ago, a purchase came through on my credit card that I never authorized at Walmart.com. Is it too late to dispute it with you? What's the guidelines on that? What's the expiration date on disputing charges?
So there's no expiration. So the thing with like fraud, there's like different like kinds of fraud, right? So there can be like some situation where we can file like what we call like chargeback. That's us like reaching out to like our merchant to see if we can get like our funds back, because like again, it's like a fraud transaction. So as long as like within the time frame, we can do something about it. Like if not, then we will notify and like let you know. But like again, there's like no time frame of like when you can submit like a dispute or like file like a fraud claim.
Okay, perfect.
And
then another
Melinda, I'm sorry. It's with a lot of the account frauds that there's a 60-day window. ACH, check, those types of transactions that aren't card related. Usually it's about a 60-day, for Patelco 60 days. Some places actually are able to extend it to 90.
Okay, that's good to know. That's very good to know. Okay, and then another question that came in, just to be clear. So Patelco will help members for just about any type of fraud that they experience then? That's awesome.
We're here to help, right, Amy?
Yes, that's what we do. We want to get you your money back. We don't want you to be a victim. We don't want you to lose money. but sometimes it's out of our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Miss Amy, would you like to talk a little bit? I know we already did kind of talk just a little bit about it, but you want to talk just one more time about what to do if there's any kind of online fraud?
So online fraud, of course, I think I saw a question earlier. Someone had asked about setting alerts on your online banking. So every institution, I at least have, and I believe all of them, have alerts that you can set for your account through online banking, going into your settings and then the security tab. They'll have a different list. Now, those can vary, the lists of alerts you can send. I have them all going by text to my phone. And basically I have it for anybody, anytime there's a login to my online banking, anytime there's a deposit over $500, anytime there's a withdrawal over $200. So anytime I even do these transactions, I get the alerts. So maybe you don't want to be as thorough, but at the same time, I try to stay on top of it and I go by what I'm seeing fraud-wise and parameters. So you can click all of those. They can either be emailed or they can be texted to you. So I suggest you go into your online banking with your institution and check it out. If you can't find it or you're having problems, call your institution. That's what we're there for. So online can be identity theft, it can be takeover. For those that don't like online banking, I highly suggest that you call your institution and ask them to disable it if you don't want to use it. Because if you're not going to use it, you're taking the chance that somebody else might sign up for you if they have the information that they need. So as I said before, I was a victim of identity theft twice in my life. That's because when I was 19, I was a victim. I kept up with all of the alerts on my social security number until right around, I don't know, I think I was 38, 39 years old, thinking that was forever ago. And then I became the victim of an IRS identity theft where they filed a false refund through the federal government. And that was a mess. You don't want that. So you want to make sure that your passwords and usernames are not easily guessed. I know everybody likes to use Amy Heath as their username, but I don't recommend it. Or if you do, make it a variation of letters and numbers that somebody wouldn't be able to guess. Make sure your password is strong. Like Sean said, change it as often as possible because they can be easily guessed. Don't put a lot of personal info out on Facebook. There's a lot of memes going around right now that I see my friends taking part in where they're like, hey, what high school did you go to? And everybody's proudly putting it. And that information you don't necessarily want to put out there. What if you use it as a security question for a lost password or your mother's maiden name? That's often used. So think about that when you're having fun on Facebook. Is this something they can use against me? Protect your identity at all costs. As I mentioned before, ftc.gov has a lot of really great info about scams and identity theft and taking control of your finances and taking back control after identity theft happens. If you are a victim of identity theft or you're afraid that you're going to be, then you can protect your identity. Reach out to the 3 major credit bureaus. Check about what you can do to protect your social security number. Chexsystems.com. A lot of people don't know about Chexsystems.com, and that's CHEXSYSTEMS.com. And that is like the credit bureau for DDA or checking and savings accounts. any bank that you bank with or that you're opening an account with is going to run your social security number through check systems. They can red flag your social as well to stop people from opening accounts in your name and committing fraud. Change your password, which I mentioned. And, just remember as you're going through life, it's your job. You are the first line of defense at stopping fraud from happening to you. As I said in the very beginning, these fraudsters, this is their full-time job. And they're going to get your money if you let your guard down. Melinda?
Thank you, Amy. Yes, absolutely. And Alenia, and now if you are a member with Patelco, I want to make sure I put this out there as an example. And Alenia, you can probably give me a little guidance on this. But if you are a member of Patelco and you are experiencing any kind of fraud or you notice something that doesn't seem right, it's pretty easy to dispute it online. Alenia, do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Melinda. Yeah, so like what Melinda said, this is for our Patelco member, and Patelco always find ways to make it easy for a member, right? Like that's what we do. So if you have like a fraud claim and if you have like online banking, this is like what we're sharing right now is online banking. So Patelco transitioned to like a user-friendly like platform that enables you to self-serve when making like claims, like card claims. So some of the benefits, first, how do you do that, right? So you just log into your online. It depends if it is a credit card or like a checking account. You look for the transaction that you want to like dispute. Click on the like that transaction and you'll see like a dispute. Like, so just click on it. It's going to ask you like a lot of like questions to open your claim. And on the back end, we're going to be working like what I said like earlier. You're going to see the provisional credit maybe the same day or within 24, 48 hours. So some of the benefits, just to, again, mention it. So you can file like a claim online. You can check the status instead of like waiting on hold for like maybe 30, 45 minutes just to ask like what happened to like my fraud claim. You can go into the online, there's like a case status like widget like card claim status. Click on it. It will tell you where we at on your fraud claim. And at the same time, like, you know, if you want to withdraw your cases, you can do it there too. But like some people might be, I don't have like online banking. How can I do that? Well, that's why I said like we make it easy for our members. So you can either like call our call center to file a claim, or you can visit like your local branch and they can help you like open like your card claims.
Thank you, Alenia.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just because we're coming up on the end of our webinar here, I just want to make sure that I mention that fraud departments are your friends. And, you know, I know that a lot of times when we think about what does the fraud department look like, we probably all close our eyes and envision the DMV where everybody's working slow and it's miserable. But that's really not the case. As you can clearly see by Amy and Alenia's smiling faces, that is not the case. And fraud departments are really, they're your friends. They are your friend. It is their job and it's their service passion to help you make things right. And because they've all been there before, there's so many millions and millions of people who have been through the same exact situation. It sucks. There's no easy way to put it other than to say it sucks. And we want to help you. So the minute you see something, say something, reach out to us, send an email, phone call, come into your branch, send a carrier pigeon, do something to let us know that you're struggling because of some fraud, and let us know all the details. Let us know everything about it. And don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, ask, how am I going to be reimbursed? When can I expect reimbursement? What can I expect for the procedures? Because every financial institution is a little different. And as we went over earlier, every fraud is a little bit different on what you may be required to do in order to get reimbursed. And while you have that person on the phone, while you have that person's attention, ask them, can you tell me a little bit about the recent scams that you've been hearing lately? Because I'm just, you know, want to stay on top of it. Now that this happened to me once, I really want to know. And they'll take a couple minutes out of their day to tell you, yeah, we've been getting a lot of calls about this lately, or we've been getting a lot of calls about that, you know, and just to kind of give you a heads up on things. So just remember that fraud departments they really are your friends. They're your friend in finance, and they can be your savior. So just know that, you know, that's what they're paid to do, is to help you. So know that, you know, be a little nice. No matter how frustrated you are, they're not the ones who cause you fraud. So be nice, and just ask for help, and you will get what you ask for. And without going over too much, I do want to put another question out there that someone did ask, which is, you know, can you ever truly be whole again after fraud has occurred? And I think
Yes.
based on Amy's example, yes. Absolutely.
So,
but I want to put it out there for Alenia and Amy to answer that.
So if you, like with identity theft or any other kind of fraud, if you react quickly and you know what you're doing, so you're checking your statements and you're looking for it, absolutely you can be whole. I was 19 years old, suddenly faced over a weekend with $52,000 of debt in 1988 when I had to fill out forms in like triplicate for identity theft stuff. But it didn't follow me because it was fraud. And as long as there's proof, as long as you get the police report for identity theft, as long as you react quickly and you contact the Federal Trade Commission and you contact the 3 major credit bureaus, you can absolutely be whole again. Identity theft will only follow you if you don't take action. And that's the same with fraud. I think Alenia would agree.
I agree, Amy. I agree, Amy. So again, at least like talking or speaking for like the fraud side or the card side, we do investigation on our end. So if we find out that it's like fraud, we're gonna have like information. We know that you didn't do it. We're gonna clear you. We're not gonna like make you liable for those transactions because we know you didn't do it. So again, staying vigilant, like about all your like, you know, personal like information, like staying on top of it. Like for credit cards, they're gonna be like some like built-in protection, right? But the first line of defense is like, starts with the card holder, with our member, like letting us know as soon as you find it. Like fraud, it can be like intimidating. Like once you think of like, oh, it's fraud, they might be like asking me all this like different information. But like no, like we're here to help. We're not gonna put you or think you committed it. We're gonna try to do the research, everything that we can do on our end, and like let you know. So that's what we do. So if there's anything, just like let us know.
We're here for you guys. In fact, the reason that I made the move from the fraud department into the member contact center was because I wanted to help you. I wanted to help our members, and I wanted to help them not after the fact, but hopefully before or during, when they're calling and saying, you know, I've got this guy and I'm sending these gift cards and I need my POS increased. We're going to try to stop you. I'm training our reps to recognize these things. We're here for you. If it wasn't for our members, we wouldn't be here.
Very true. And so there has been a couple of other questions that did come through. One question, is there a minimum amount to open an account at Patelco? So we do usually ask that you have, you know, maybe $5 in the savings, your membership savings account, but there's really no minimum to open the account. And everyone that's on this call today actually is part of one of our partners. So our Patelco at Work partners. So there is no minimum for you, and you can actually join online over the phone, or you can even email me and I can set you up with a Zoom appointment with somebody at a local branch, and they can help you in case you do not want to come into a local branch, because I know everybody's trying to curtail and avoid COVID-19 right now. So just know that, you know, any way that you need assistance or want to establish a membership with us, we're here for you. And we got lots and lots of private and public question or comments on here, just thanking you ladies for a wonderful presentation today. And one last question for Amy if you can, please, can you repeat the name of the weekly credit reporting website?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So it's all one word, annualcreditreport.com. And it's free from now until April 2021 to monitor your credit during COVID, because they understand all of the fraud that's going on and they want to help protect you.
Thank you. All right, well, if no one else has any other questions, I did put my email address there on the screen. Just remember, I don't work on commission. Whether or not you're a Patelco member, you're a B of A member, you are a no member. If you have any questions in regards to money or credit or just, anything like that, you can always reach out to me. I'll be your friend in finance. And just know that if I don't have the answer, I have obviously some very resourceful women in my connection here.
Keep in mind too, I'm sorry, Melinda, but keep in mind too, Patelco offers financial counselors now, which I just have been certified. So we do have credit union certified financial counselors, and we can help you with all of your financial questions.
Yep, that's right. So any other questions that you guys have, feel free to type into the chat bar, take yourself off mute and ask them. But if not, and you want to ask any questions privately, you do have my email address here on the screen, so feel free to use it. Absolutely, anytime, feel free to use it.
Hello, Melinda.
Yes.
Hi, this is Victoria.
Hi, Victoria.
I just wanted to thank you and Amy and Elenia for all of your wealth of knowledge today. We greatly appreciate it here at East Bay. And thank you for all you do for our customers here. So thank you so much for your time today.
Of course, thank you. And thank you for spreading the word. I hope that everyone on the call found this to be very useful information. We want to keep you safe. We want to keep your money your money. And of course, after this, I will be sending out a link with the recording for this webinar so that the folks who did have to leave at the top of the hour, that they can be able to watch at a later date, or if they just need it as a course refresher, that they can see it at that time as well. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thanks for showing up.